Alright guys, in today's video what we're going to be working on is removing and repairing damaged emblems or badges. Not a sticker or not a decal, but if you got one of these metal or plastic type of badges that are attached with trim adhesive to the clear coat, that's what we're going to be covering today. This particular vehicle is a 2013 Avalanche, and it's got this particular anniversary type emblem on both sides, and the one on the other side is damaged. So we're going to go through removing it and replacing it, but this would apply to any similar type badge on a GM vehicle. So let's get started. Alright guys, here's a view of the damaged badge. So you can see there's like a hard plastic substrate, and on the back there's trim adhesive, like 3M trim adhesive that attaches it to the clear coat of the paint, and on the top is supposed to be a stainless steel, or maybe it's aluminum, I'm not sure. There's a metal imprinted badge, and you can see that it's the imprint in the plastic is left, but that piece has separated. This is all sticky where that metal used to be. So we need to remove the old one and replace it with a new one. So that's the repair job, but how you remove it and how you replace it, like I said, is going to apply to any. What you're going to start with, we're going to clean the area around here with some 50% alcohol, because we're going to need to be able to get some painter's tape to stick on the paint, and then I'll show you how we're going to use the painter's tape to help line up that we get this thing back centered in the correct alignment. Alright guys, so we're going to take this tape, and what we're going to do is we're going to run it right along the very top of the emblem, like that. That's one piece, and we're going to do the same thing on the bottom, and we're going to do the same thing on the sides, and that's going to give us a box to be sure we get this eyeballed back in exactly where it came off. Now if you're debadging the truck, you can skip ahead to how you remove this, and you don't need to worry about putting it back, but in this case we want to put this back where it came off. Now after we get this box made, then we're going to do another piece that keys off of two pieces of the text. If you don't have text on the emblem, you can use some kind of symbol, anything you can use to get an alignment angle out of it. Alright, so now we've got our box. And I know the camera might be a little bit off, but I'm looking at it right from behind the camera and it's dead centered on. So we've got this box dead centered around our emblem. Now we're going to take a small piece. We're just going to pick something as an alignment mark. I'm going to pick this D in diamond, and I'm just going to get this where it lines up with the D at the same angle as the D, like that. And then I'm going to pick another letter on this symbol, on this emblem rather, and I'm going to line it up with the L in Lanch here. And now I've got what I need to eyeball in the new one and put it right where it should go. And yeah, will it be off a millimeter or a fraction of a millimeter? Maybe. Is anybody going to be able to tell that? No. Alright, so now at this point we're going to go get a heat gun, because what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to weaken this trim adhesive that's behind this emblem, and we want to slowly lift it off of the clear coat. If you don't have a heat gun, a hairdryer can work in a pinch. Let's go get the heat gun and start lifting this off. Alright guys, this green tape I'm using is actually a automotive masking tape from 3M, but you could use the blue tape, which is the 3M painter's tape as well. What you just want is something that's not going to adhere too much, especially when we heat it up, because we don't want to damage the clear coat. Alright, I'm going to have this thing on a medium level of heat. We're going to get the whole thing hot first. I'm actually keeping my hand here because I want to get a feel for the temperature, although you definitely don't touch the nozzle, guys. And then we're going to work on the bottom once we feel like we've got the whole thing heated up. Now, if it's been sitting out in the sun all day on a hot summer day, you could skip part of this step. Our temperature today, though, is more like 70, 71. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pry up against the tape. Steady pressure until we get the bond to weaken. See, I got this trim tool under here, and I'm just giving it a little twist. You don't want to force it off, or it'll take the paint off. All right, at this point, she's starting to weaken. Now you can start working around with pressure and heat on the other sides. Just definitely want to go slow. All right. Now, there's still going to be, it's very sticky, and it's going to be warm. Now we're going to have to work off this residue. This residue we're going to work off between a combination. Right now, while it's soft, we'll be able to peel a lot of it. Maybe I can zoom in here and you guys can see. See, while it's soft, we can get it to come off like that. So I'm going to work this around, and we're going to continue to use the heat gun and peel the rest of it off by hand, just like this. All right, now without the emblem there, we're going to stay further away from the paint. You want to stay about 2 inches away. You want it hot enough to soften this stuff, but not so hot that you can't touch it. All right, so that's the technique, guys. So I'm going to keep working at this, and we'll come back when we get all of this peeled off by hand. All right, now we get the final residue off with a solvent. All right, the first thing I'm going to work with, any kind of a tar remover. I'm just going to use this old GM Goodwrench tar remover, but anything like that will be enough to work off this residual adhesive. You don't want to use Goo Gone on here. While that would definitely work to get the material off, it'll leave a residue that'll compromise the new emblem from sticking. All right, so we're just going to go around with this. Be careful we don't remove our alignment tape. You can see this type of solvent does a job on what's left, right? Okay, so you can see there, we just have a few smaller pieces we'll clean up off camera. But this kind of technique has got us almost to the point of where we're ready to reinstall with zero damage to the paint. All right, the next level of clean we're going to do with some 50% alcohol. This is just getting us almost to the point of where we're ready to apply the new emblem. Now it's going to be normal to see an outline of where the old emblem or badge was. It's because you got in this case, right, we've got 10 years of ultraviolet light damage to the paint that the emblem was blocking. So you will be able to detect the circle where it was. That's okay, and there's just nothing you can do about that. And you won't be able to tell once you put the new one on. At this point, we're ready to put the new one on, so let me show you what the new one is. In this particular case, I'll give you the part number of this particular badge, but again, the technique would be applicable to any type of GM badge. All right, guys, we're going to be replacing this particular badge with a GM 2291 3047. So you can see inside there's like a pull strip on here, and this will be the adhesive piece that goes against the tape, and then it's sitting inside of a kind of foam protect. In this particular badge's case, because it's metal, it's sitting inside of some foam protector to keep it from getting dented or bent. So let me just pop this open. I'll show you up close what I'm talking about here. All right, so inside the package, it's like this, and it's got this kind of foam around it. That also is part of how the dealership would have used to help align it. So we're going to separate it from that. Peel it off of there. All right, so then we're left with something like this. So for what we're doing, we're just going to be aligning it the way we calculated before, right? So remember, we made these side marks to line up with the D, for example, in diamond. So we're going to have to cut some of this strip off of here to get it out of our alignment way. I'll get a pair of scissors and just cut this out of our way. And then we have this piece lining up with our L. We want to make sure that's not obstructed, and we'll be able to pull it off from the top. All right, so now we've got it cut so we can see what we need to do, right? So there's our D and our L, and we're just going to position this inside of our box like this. And we're going to use this to line up on our D and use this to line up on our L. Just get a feel for it. Now I'm going to have to do this off camera, guys, because I got to get the camera out of the way and stand just in front of this to get this visually the way it needs to be. But what you'll end up doing is we'll peel this piece of adhesive backing off. It's on the back here, so you can see it's only in a ring. The center is hollow. And then from the axis that we're going to be having it against the vehicle, I'll show you like this. Right, we're going to apply it on the top first, and then we're going to bring it down so that we can squeeze the air bubbles out as we go, right? So we're going to basically go like this. We're going to get it lined up. We're going to press it on the top, and then we're going to press it in the middle, and then at the very end, we're going to press it on the bottom. Once this sticks, it ain't moving, even in the very tip top. So you've got to get this exactly right before you let your thumb push it down, right? So you're going to pull the backing off. You're going to hold it with your fingers. You're going to keep it a few millimeters above making contact. You're going to move it around and shift it and twist it, whatever you need to do to get happy with the alignment. And once you're happy with that alignment and it's all centered in this box and it's lined up, then you're just going to go like that. And then you're going to go like that. And then you're going to go like that. And then you're going to like that. And you're going to be done. So let me get this one on, and then I'll show you the final thing you're going to do to let it set up. All right, guys, so you can see we've got it in there. One additional mark that I ended up doing was just putting a little dot with a Sharpie right above the N, just to help make sure we got this dialed in. So now we can peel off all of this alignment tape. Because we know we've got it aligned. And if we get it off without damaging it, we can reuse some of the pieces for what we got to do here, which is we're going to go down with a lot of tension, and we're going to hold this in place. And then we're going to park it out in the sunlight, and it should set up nicely within an hour or so. Keeping a lot of tension on this tape. Be careful when you're cutting this stuff so you don't damage the paint. Right? And at this point, this job is basically done. We came down here, we pressed where that N was, then here, then here, then here, then here, then here, and then we pressed on the right, and then we pressed on the left to try and help ensure that we didn't have any air bubbles. After it was done, we've given a good press all around. You should see the sheet metal flex as you do that. We'll leave this tape on here under tension. Like I said, get it out in the sun. And after about an hour, we should be all done. Maybe even less if it's a hot day. So we'll do that. We'll come back and look at the final piece. And then I'll give you some final comments about some other things you might hit and how you can work around them. All right, guys, we've got the tape off. I think it came out really great. We had taken a couple of pictures beforehand just to kind of compare our alignment, and we've got it spot on. So, you know, that if that's something that concerns you like it does me, these extra steps I showed you can get it exactly where it was. The adhesion is really great, and you can tell because if you try to give it a pull, you can see the sheet metal flex. That's what you want to see. Now, I said at the end, before this, I would tell you some tips if you run into problems. This is the straightforward dealership body shop approach. Just swap out the part and replace it from a new GM part. But what if this just fell off intact and you want to get it back on? You got a couple of options. So one option is, now the only size I've got right here is this 1/2 inch, because I use this for body side molding repair. But you can get it in 1 inch. And this is the exact kind of tape that we saw on the back of this, right? So when we heated it up and we pulled off the old one, that was the donut that came off of this, right? So you can cut that 1 inch molding tape in sections and put it back on here. Now, before you stick it on the plastic, you'll also want to pick up this other type of 3M product called an adhesion promoter. This is necessary when you're trying to get plastic trim to stick to these kinds of tapes. This sticks fine to the paint or even bare metal, but you need this adhesion promoter if you want to have it stick to the plastic. So that's one option. Another option is, and this is a product I would normally only use on older vehicle emblems that are made of metal, but there is another 3M product that's this plastic and emblem adhesive clear, and this is something that you can use as well. It dries soft and it dries clear, but it takes a long time to dry. So just bear that in mind if you use it. You're going to have to get it where you want it, tape it in place, and just let it sit for a long while. I've seen it take a couple of hours before it sets up. Depends on the weather, of course. Anyway, I hope those tips help you out. If you found this video useful in getting your emblem either debadged or repaired or replaced because somebody debadged it before you and you want to put it back, this type of approach applies to any of these kind of emblems. And I'd take the time to hit that like button if you found that to be the case. I'd really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching.